Everybody, good or great?
Great.
Come on, you can do better than that. How is everybody? Good or great? All right, well listen, how many of you heard there's a really good-looking, dynamic speaker going to be up here tonight? Anybody hear that? Well, he's up next, so right there you're stuck with me. So my name is Darren Kidd, and over the next 4.5 hours, we have a lot to cover. So you are paying attention. There you go. But listen, we appreciate you coming out. We are going to be as brief as we possibly can. But here's what I would encourage you to do. Definitely thank the person that invited you. Is there some background noise or is that just AC? AC. That's what I'm for, right? So definitely thank the person that invited you tonight, because we said, hey, listen, we're going to fly into town. People from all over are here tonight, all over the country, maybe multiple countries. And who are the people that you care about, you respect, you love the most, and they thought of you. Okay, so thank them for inviting you out. And what I want to do is just introduce the first speaker. Kind of share with you how I got to know Tony and what brought me here and how I'm a part of a project you're going to hear about tonight. So I was just showing a couple gentlemen a voice message from Tony back August 23rd, 2021. And Tony mentioned to me, hey, listen, I'm launching a company, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Now, I didn't call him back. I had some stuff going on in my life. My mom was sick. She ended up passing away. And Tony told me later, he goes, listen, man, I'm pretty good. We all have our gifts. Would you agree? Yes or yes? Yes. Yes or yes? Yes. Right, the less you participate, the longer the presentation goes on. So at this point, we're going to be here for breakfast. But Tony said, listen, when I call someone, because he has that knack of being able to kind of recognize the next big trend. By the way, if you have a seat beside you that's open, can you please raise your hand? We got some people that need seats. Okay, so we got two up here, two more up here. Come on up. I want to make sure that you're comfortable. All right, is that seat open right there, Joel? There's another one over here. One up here. All right, good stuff. We're all family, so just make yourself at home. All right, so anyway, Tony said, listen, I'm pretty good at recognizing the next big thing. And when I share something with someone, I don't tell them this. It'd be a jerk thing to say out loud. But because of my belief, I believe I'm offering them opportunity or regret. And it's totally up to them which one they choose. So over the next 24 months, I did not call him back. His company that he had just launched 2 months before he called me did over $10 billion in revenue. Over $2 billion in receivables. The guys that I do know that called him back, this is why I keep the message. It hurts, but I never want to make this mistake again. They made about $50 to $100 million each year the next couple years. How many of you agree or wish that they would have had a class that we could have taken in school or college, how to recognize the next big trend, how to recognize the next big business opportunity, and position yourself in front of it? How many would love to have that? How many are not gonna raise your hand no matter what I ask? Who took a shower today? Anybody? All right. If not, your neighbor would appreciate you. Don't raise your hand. But there's a German philosopher that said this: opportunities go through 3 phases. Number 1, they're ridiculed. Number 2, they're violently opposed. And then 3, they're self-evident. But only 3% get involved in the first 2 most profitable phases, which is ridiculed and violently opposed. So how many of us were raised never to get into a car with a stranger? Was I the only one? It was all of us. So years ago, somebody came to you and they said, hey, listen, I got this great business idea. What if we pay to jump in a stranger's car? Or what if we let a stranger pay to jump in our car? We would have probably all said that is the stupidest business plan and business idea I've ever heard of in my life. That was Uber, which is now $156 billion company, right? Who cares? Says the REVO Rod president here. Or Airbnb. What if you let a stranger stay in your car? Or the guy that I know in Northern Virginia who had 12 cell phone stores in the late 80s. So when cell phones first came out and they were as big as a backpack, how many people remember that? They bolted. Yeah, you're a lot older than I am. But no, not really. I do remember that. I had one of them bolted into my car, and it was several $1,000s.
Yeah, they're still $12.99.
There you go. Radio Shack. So what happened was like, man, why would I pay thousands of dollars for a car, a phone I'm going to bolt into my car, the reception must be great. No, actually it's pretty bad because there was very few cell phone towers at that time. Well, it must be cheap to operate. No, it's crazy expensive to operate. No thanks, I'll go home and call people when I get there, right? But vision is seeing it before the masses see it. So in the early 90s, AT&T paid him millions. His story was in, I think, Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneurial Soul. That's why one of my favorite quotes is from Helen Keller, where it's worse than being blind, having sight with no vision. Yeah. Or the late Dr. Miles Monroe said, sight is a function of the eyes, vision is a function of the heart. Yeah. And so when Tony called me, see, most people, I've met some pretty successful people. You've met some pretty successful people. How many of us know people that made $1 million in a year? Quite a few of us in the room. What about in their lifetime, they created a company that did $1 billion in revenue? A lot less. How many of you know someone that has 3 separate companies that have all done in excess of $1 billion in the last 3 years? Those are the ones that know Tony, right? So not only does he have 3 companies, credit card processing company doing billions a year, marketing company did over $1 billion, accounting company did over $10 billion in 24 months. But on top of that, oil wells, real estate, launched a delivery company in 2016. This is vision. He went, hey, listen, what if we go out, we compete with Uber Eats and DoorDash, give them such a run for their money. We know we're not going to take them down, but they'll want to buy us. And it worked. DoorDash, Uber Eats wanted to buy him. They merged with Delivery.com. They were Inc. 500 company, #1 franchisee in the world for Delivery.com right now. So when he asked me to go out to Utah, and he goes, listen, we're going to meet one of the top blockchain guys in the world, and we're going to talk about nodes, and we're going to talk about blockchain. And in my mind, I could hear the quote, better for someone to think you're ignorant than open your mouth and remove all doubt. I'm like, do I tell him I don't know what a node is? Do I tell him I don't understand blockchain? But I knew enough to go, wait a minute. If I don't feel comfortable, if I don't understand it, when I started hearing about it, I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if this will work. That's when you pay attention. Because once everybody sees it, the opportunity's over. Right now, don't want what you don't want. I wish everybody saw this opportunity, whatever it is. No, you don't. Because everyone knows what a cell phone is now, but yet the opportunity to do what the guy that I met back in the late 80s is impossible at this point. So I go, Tony, if you're asking me to get on your private jet, fly to Utah, and hang out with a bunch of techie people that I'm sure are a lot smarter than I am, I'm all in because I love to learn. Because I know the same version of me that got me to where I am is not the same version that's going to get me to the next level. It takes a different way of thinking. It takes different actions. And to get something different, we must do something different. So I went out there. I hung out in the back of the room. Very uncomfortable. Paul was the same way. I didn't want to strike up any conversations, afraid someone would ask me something and then they'd know I didn't belong in that room because I'm not a techie person. I don't understand blockchain and all this stuff. But I saw Tony drop about $3 million in nodes. A few months later, I saw him drop another $50 million in nodes. And he'll tell you what that is. And I'm like, $53 million? And then he said, Darren, this could be the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. And then I saw him start delegating other projects, going, I'm going to spend 90-some% of my time into this. So then I went total immersion, started digging in, researching blockchain, researching crypto, researching, nodes. What does it actually look like? What does it mean? And then I found out, look, blockchain is growing faster than the internet in 1996. It's the fastest adopted technology in history. And then I saw the Bitcoin halving that just happened. What normally happens after the Bitcoin halving? If the past predicts the future, normally it's a 12 to 24 month spike. Bitcoin, just saw this week, is at 200 days at $1 trillion plus in market cap, straight days. You have the Bitcoin ETFs, you have the Ethereum ETFs. The first time ever, I don't care, it doesn't matter to me who you're voting for, but it's the first time we've ever had a pro-presidential race, pro-crypto presidential race here in the United States. Kennedy, what did he say? He's like, hey, listen, if I win, we'll put the whole budget on the blockchain. And then you got Trump spoke at the Bitcoin conference. Kennedy spoke at the Bitcoin conference. The Democrats now are working on like that pro-crypto, campaign. So what's happening, now that I'm mentioning this to you, We're going from the ridiculed to the violently opposed to the self-evident. Not only that, the World Economic Forum said this will disrupt blockchain $867 trillion in traditional businesses. So with that said, why did I set the whole event up tonight just like this? Because our mind only works like a parachute. It only works if it's open. And so what I challenge you to do is sit back tonight like I did and go, man, I don't have any idea what this is, or very little knowledge. This is like a fire hose of information, but I don't want to look back. This was me. I go, I never want to look back again, which is why I saved that voice message. And go, man, I woulda, I shoulda, I coulda, but I didn't. And when Tony shared with me what his mentor shared with him, he said, listen, first of all, if you want to change your life, you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to know you're in the right place at the right time. How many of us have been in the right place at the right time at one point in our life but didn't recognize it? And number 3, you have to take all-out massive action. You could be in the right place at the right time, know you're in the right place at the right time, and do nothing, and it doesn't really matter. How many of us have heard knowledge is power? It's not true. Knowledge plus action is power. There's a lot of broke know-it-alls out there. So with that said, okay, now you'll probably listen a little bit differently, knowing Tony's background, understanding kind of how we got here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to share with you some information tonight. I encourage you, take notes, pay attention. We're here to answer questions. And if you like what you see, we believe the next 12 to 24 months has never happened before. And it's not hype, but it will probably never happen again, with everything aligning like a perfect storm with the things that I just shared with you. So with that said, please give a warm welcome to the front of the room, Mr. Tony Swantek.
Well, thanks for coming out, guys. We do appreciate you sharing your time with us to learn a little bit about who we are, what we're up to, and how you guys might be able to benefit financially from locking arms with us. Can we give a hand back to Darren Kidd as well? Best-selling author, one of the best speakers and trainers in the world, and he and I have known each other for 15 years, never met in person, and I was doing an event, actually, some of my business partners are here, and we own a marketing company, and the event was in PGA National. And so I always took my dogs there and my wife, and we would stay in the cottages, so I was never in the main hotel. And pretty much just for the event. I would show up to valet, get out, walk into the event room, do the event, walk out, get back in the car, and go back to the cottages. So I'm heading into the event, get out of the car, walk into the hallway, and I see this guy come walking out. I look up and I was like, Darren Kidd? Now, we've known each other for 15 years. Just over phone, over some Zoom meetings back in the day. And he looks up, he's like, Tony? And I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm a keynote speaker for a company here this weekend. And he's like, what are you doing here? I was like, well, our company, I'm speaking at our event, you know? And so we just reconnected. And this was after he didn't call me back. So it's too bad. Well, for him. It's all right for me. But it was totally a God thing for me. You know, I think everything happens for a reason, and we got reconnected. And I've been a serial entrepreneur. I started out in the network marketing world. I built some big organizations. And then I kind of parlayed that money into different companies and built several companies. And October of last year, I got a phone call from a buddy. And I think the reason, you know, again, Darren mentioned it. We're all, you know, times that we're at the right place at the right time, but we don't realize it. And I remember 2017, I was involved in cryptocurrency trading software, doing pretty well, actually. I started buying Bitcoin back in 2013. And I'm bullish on it. I've never sold it. My last purchase was, $69,000. I might be down a little bit from there, but I honestly think it's worth over $1 million a coin. Michael Saylor thinks it's worth like 18 million or something. I hope he's right. But we could be wrong, right? Like, it's all speculative. But I was in that space, but just in the crypto side. I really didn't think much about blockchain. Has anyone here been involved in blockchain? Like the blockchain technology? Yeah, I know you we talked the other day. So one, maybe a couple of you. So I was on, has anyone here owned crypto or bought or sold crypto at all? Okay. A lot of the room. All right. I was like, it's the same thing. And then as you start to delve in, that's like saying, oh, email and the internet. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, email's a part of the internet, but there's a lot more to it than just being able to send somebody an email. So I'm in this trading software, and my buddy owns the company, and he calls me. And he introduced me to this guy, Wright, and he's like, hey, he goes, you need to buy nodes for this project called Gala Games. And I was like, same thing there. So I was like, what's a node? And he goes, it's basically software you put on your computer. This company borrows your computer power. He said, or you can host in the cloud or whatever. And they pay you for using your computer. And I go, well, how much? And he goes, well, they give you Gala tokens. And I remember this is 2018. I said, well, how much is a Gala token worth? And he goes, right now, nothing. And I go, well, this sounds amazing. I was like, you're going to borrow my computer and then pay me with magic internet money that's not worth anything. And he's like, well, it's not worth anything now. But he goes, if a bunch of people start playing these games, it could be worth a lot. So the short version, I ended up buying 10 grand worth of notes. It was 20 Gala notes. And it got refunded. About a year goes by, nothing happens. They probably sold the notes too early. There were no games built out. They were still kind of working on stuff. So people were complaining, he just refunds everybody. And I actually called him, I was like, hey, I don't need the money back. Can I just let it ride? And he goes, listen, it's easier to just do one big refund. Just call me in a few weeks and we'll just redo the transaction. I was like, sure. Well, you guys ever get busy and forget to do something you should have done? So I was actually exiting that delivery business. A third of it was selling to one company and 2/3 was merging. And so I was just focused on that. And I wasn't going to play games or anything on my phone, so I just forgot. Nothing happens for about a year and a half. And then I see him post on Facebook, and he puts like hashtag Gala, hashtag crypto, hashtag blockchain. So I call him. We're pretty good friends. And I'm like, Tomas, what's up with Gala? And he goes, bro, there's millions of people playing these games. I was like, really? He goes, I've been selling the tokens. Because the nodes just print tokens. Like, it's literally like a printing press, just tokens. That for years, 2.5 years were worth nothing. And he goes, I just started selling them over the last 60 days. And I go, how much have you sold? And he goes, a little over $50 million worth. And I was like, what? And he shows me. He's like he shows me his bank account. Like he transferred it. And I go, how much is Wright sold? And he goes, he's got like 4.3 billion. And I just chalked it up as oopsie, right? Like right place, right time. And I took a little bit of action, but didn't take enough action to get the job done. And I think we've all been there. So you fast forward a few years, I start several other companies, and then October of last year, Tomas calls me. And he says, hey, the guys at blockchain, they've got several projects, like 12 new blockchain projects they're launching to the world. I said, where do I need to go? And he said, we're going to meet in Las Vegas. I was like, I'll be there. And I sat down in the room, and it wasn't, the technology is definitely something that's exciting, but the people that were behind it. And I'll share with you some of the projects. There's two main ones we're focused on because they're the two fastest growing projects in the ecosystem. But they had a health and wellness project. They had a blockchain banking project. And that was one that caught me because I have a credit card processing company, and the CEO of the banking project, I knew her. She didn't know me. But I was sitting next to a buddy of mine that's pretty big in the pharmaceutical space. He has a big pharmaceutical manufacturing firm, and then he's got like 19 pharmacies around the country. His name's Matt. And this lady walks in as the CEO, and I go, Matt, I said, whatever she's doing, we need to do it. And he's like, who's that? And I was like, her name's Kathy Roberts. I said, she was the founder, one of the original founders of Discover Card. And she was the first president of Discover Bank. And I'm just sitting here watching her talk about blockchain. And I remember afterwards, I was like, I didn't say it like this, but I was like, what the heck are you doing here? Like, blockchain and banking go together like oil and water. Like, they don't get along. And she's one of the more influential bankers of our time. A lot of people don't realize this, but she was an executive at Sears. There was a group of them. They went to Visa and MasterCard. And they said, hey, you need to give our clients 1% cash back on Sears purchases. And Visa and MasterCard were like, no, we're not going to do that. So they create Discover Card. Now everybody has to give cash back, don't they? They literally changed the way the credit card reward system works. And then she became the president of Discover Bank not long after that, and was literally one of the more influential bankers in the world. And I said, why are you here? And she goes, I believe blockchain's a way to make everybody on the planet bankable. Because so many people cannot participate in the financial system from not only around the world. Obviously, we think of Africa, India. There's third world countries where it's very difficult for them to participate in the financial system. There's no banks within hundreds of miles, so it's tough to get into the system. Blockchain solves that. And she said the other thing is the control that the centralized banks have. She said she'd met some truckers that were just delivering during COVID in Toronto. There were protests. They weren't even a part of the protest, but they used their debit card and it got frozen. And all their money in their accounts got frozen because they were truck drivers using a debit card in a city. And she's like, that shouldn't happen. Blockchain doesn't allow that to happen. So I'm going to share our projects with you. And what I'll tell you is there an opportunity for massive returns? For sure. For massive upside? For sure. But there's also an opportunity for nothing. Just like with Gala Games. If nobody played those games, those tokens would still be worth nothing. And so I always tell people, there's a disclaimer. You have to do your own due diligence, do your own research. At the end of the day, it's high risk with the potential for zero reward. But there's also potential for a massive reward. And our legal team, I think, helps us to make sure we're crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I've worked really closely with Daniel Payne. John Madsen, I got to do calls with him almost every week as we're launching a couple new projects. Ken Cuccinelli, he was the former Attorney General for the state of Virginia. And he was also the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security for 3 years for the United States of America. So as far as blockchain projects go, we're as tight as it gets on the legal side. Back when I first bought it was $3 million worth of nodes in October, I was kind of 50-50 on the project. I had put $3 million in with a buddy, and he's a registered financial advisor, and I was like, if this blockchain project takes off, I can make fun of my buddy. He's doing really well, actually, in the stocks, but he won't do near as well as blockchain. The returns are just ridiculous. But the concern for me was the regulatory bodies, right? What's the SEC going to do? What's the FTC? You never know. And it's gotten better and better and better, and less risky and I'm not saying there's no risk on the regulatory side, but it's much less than it was in October of last year. And so then it was by December when I really decided to dig in. And I bought another $50 million worth of nodes. Now, I want to say, I don't recommend people buy $53 million worth of nodes. $50 million's the max that I would go if I were you. I'm just kidding. I tell people this, don't take out a second mortgage. It's Vegas money, right? And everybody's in a different place financially. How many people think 53 million is a lot of money? I think it's a lot of money. Do you think Elon Musk thinks it's a lot of money? He bought Twitter for 40 billion, right? 53 million is lunch for that guy. So everybody's at a different level. For me, what I did is I took my high-risk portfolio, everything that was in oil exploration, everything that was in ETFs in the market, everything that was high real estate, like commercial speculation, I moved it all into the blockchain. I did it for and I had some stuff in treasuries that I moved out. It was just sitting in treasuries waiting for somewhere to go. And I just moved that all out of U.S. treasuries and moved it right into the blockchain. Now, a few reasons. One, I believed in the project. Two, it's called off-the-shelf software. The Node software, because it's classified as off-the-shelf, I was able to deduct it from my taxes. So it was called a Section 179 and a bonus depreciation. So it saved me $21 million in taxes last year. So it was good. It's good savings. But what got me excited, if you think about what's happening in society today, I look at blockchain as really that transition between Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. And I remember kind of making that transition from 1.0 to 2.0. 1.0 was 1983, you could look IP protocol, TCP, it was old school. Military was using it. High-tech folks were using it. No one was using the internet, though, as a regular basis. Maybe he was, but most of us were not.
Just didn't have Mozilla yet.
Yeah, there you go. 95, Hotmail comes out. Yahoo, all that stuff. Now it's starting to come on. Mid-90s, you got Google. Late 90s, Amazon starts coming out. PayPal, all that's hitting. 03, Facebook hits. 07, the iPhone, and we're off and running. That's Web 2.0. And I remember one of my first conversions into Web 2, I was 2002 in Austin, Texas. I was writing a check to pay my credit card bill. And one of my buddies that worked in the office there with me, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm paying my credit card bill. And he's like, with a check? And I was like, yeah. He goes, why don't you do it online? And I kind of seen, I don't know if you remember getting the bill back in the day where it was like, send payments to P.O. Box, whatever, or pay online, cap1.com/Visa or whatever. So I was like, all right. So I set up my bank account. I remember back then they'd send you like 4 cents and 8 cents, and you had to verify the transaction to connect your account. The next month my bill comes in. I paid it. I went online, I paid it, and I thought to myself, I'm never going to write another check again for a bill like this. This is way easier, way better. With or without me, with or without Darren or Paul or anybody in here, with or without our ecosystem, our projects, Web3 is coming. Whether any of us are a part of it or not, it's coming. And it's going to be similar to how I moved paying my bills from writing a check to doing it in Web 2. People will no longer use Web 2. It's just a matter of time because Web 3 is better. And how I explain it, Web 2 is centralized. All of our data is owned by corporations. And I think, haven't we all, I guess as humans, kind of surrendered to the fact that Mark Zuckerberg is listening to me right now? It's true. When you go on a Zoom meeting, you realize like their AI, they said, hey, with our new product, your name, your likeness, your videos, anyone that comes onto your meeting, it's all available for our AI. We can share it all with our AI. If you Uber, they know where you're going. They know what restaurants you like. They know what movies you want to go to. They know it all. Mark Zuckerberg is monetizing every piece of data they possibly can. And people are just like, well, what's the alternative? And in Web 2.0, there isn't one. But Web 3.0 says, listen, why don't we decentralize that centralized internet? Why don't we give the community ownership of their own data? And if they choose to monetize their data anonymously, they can choose to do that and they'll get rewarded for it. I think if all humans had a choice to let Mark Zuckerberg make billions of dollars off of us, or we could put a few bucks in our own pockets, I think we'd all choose to put money in our pockets, wouldn't we? So once it's an option, I'm telling you, it's going to be just like me going from writing a check to going, that's stupid, I'm never going to do that again. Some of our kids and grandkids will be like, wait a minute. Somebody knew your name, your birthday, had all your data? Really? You had 27 different passwords and usernames? And what's the dark web? Like, the dark web doesn't exist in blockchain. Like, all our data is so much more secure. And so eventually, I'm telling you, it's going to make that shift. And like Darren talked about, even the World Economic Forum said there's an $867 trillion disruption to traditional markets due to blockchain technology. Again, it's coming with or without us, whether we like it or not. So how do you participate? That was my big question. Like, how do I get in the game at all? And our ecosystem allows people to participate through what we call node software. And node software, the best analogy is almost, I think I've heard, is like the cell phone towers. If you own a farm, Verizon doesn't buy your entire farm and go, oh, we're going to build cell phone towers. They lease a little piece of land, right? And then they build their tower. And in return for that, they pay you each month, and hey, thanks for hosting the Verizon network on your little piece of farmland. It's like, hey, you get paid for that. We do the same thing. If you run a node, and a node it's basically like a mining software. Have you guys ever heard of Bitcoin mining? Bitcoin nodes? That's a mining node. The official name of a Bitcoin miner would be called a mining node. It helps run the Bitcoin network. There's Ethereum nodes. They run the Ethereum network. And so you get rewarded. If you're running a Bitcoin miner, you get Bitcoin. If you're running an Ethereum miner, you get Ethereum for running the Ethereum nodes. We have projects, the WIN blockchain is kind of our sales and marketing blockchain. You get WIN tokens for running a WIN node. REV is our rideshare, decentralized rideshare. You get REV tokens. R-Link is our decentralized video conference, like a Zoom platform. You get the R-Link tokens. The different projects, I'm not going to go through them all today, but we have the banking blockchain, the health and wellness blockchain, decentralized ethical mining blockchain, Element, Give blockchains, our charitable blockchain. We've raised millions of dollars in the last few months to help build orphanages. We've saved, I know last year was 3,200 children from child sex trafficking last year alone. That's something to get excited about. Every single day, there's an operation saving children because of the Give blockchain. Like right now, as we're talking, somewhere around the world, whether it's Southeast Asia, India, or here in the United States, there's children being saved right now by teams that the Give blockchain is supporting, which is pretty awesome to think about. And the Give blockchain, what it does is it creates transparency with your giving. So you'll see to the penny, oh, I put a well into this village and now people have clean water. Oh, I helped to build an orphanage and so these kids have a place to sleep. Oh, we saved 17 children from child sex trafficking in Thailand and it just happened this evening. And I can see where that money went. Every single dollar goes to the project. There's no admin. When you give $100 to the Give blockchain, $100 goes to the project. That doesn't happen a lot of the time. There's a lot of charities where like $20 goes to the project, $80 goes to jet fuel or whatever the hell they're spending it on, but it's not their project. Grow is our agricultural blockchain. I know right now for about 32,000 Grow tokens, you can buy about $350 worth of steaks. It's probably about $800 worth of steaks. And New York strips, fillets, bone marrow. So one of the bigger Grow farms, we have 7 farm partners. One of the bigger ones is Royal Ranch out of Washington State. It's the largest regenerative farm pretty much in the world. And you can order meat directly from there. And if you have Grow nodes that are printing Grow tokens, you can just use the tokens to buy the meat. I have over 1 billion Grow tokens. I'm going to be able to feed. Christmas, we usually feed a lot of families. I'm like, I'm going to get steak for all these families that we send. They'll be like, it's a better year. I'm like, yeah, no chicken this year. It's all steak. So we've got 2 new projects to the blockchain. And when I saw their projects, not that there was anything wrong with them, they're great projects, but I had 2 friends of mine that were working on different projects. And when my first friend came to me and he was like, hey, I'm working on building a rideshare company. And he'll tell you his story on kind of what drove him to do that. And I just sat down with him for a little while and I was like, dude, your project belongs on the blockchain. And not everything does, but this does. See, blockchain allows you to compete at a high level because of the efficiency it creates. When I started my restaurant delivery business, it was really an accident. I was selling pizza. We had pizzerias in the malls, kind of like Sbarro's. We were in several malls. It was called Brooklyn Boys. It was in the Midwest. And I just wanted to deliver because if the mall was slow, there wasn't a lot going on. Like if there's not back to school, not Christmas time or whatever, it was like, there's nobody in the mall. We're not selling a lot of pizza. So we wanted to get delivery going, and we used a third party, and it went really well. It was 2016. Like Uber and Uber Eats wasn't even around. DoorDash was in like San Fran. I think Uber Eats might have been in LA and San Fran, maybe New York, and Miami. And that was like Dallas didn't even have any. Grubhub was in Dallas, but no DoorDash, no Uber Eats, none of them. And nobody was in, it was actually Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. That's where K-State is. Manhattan, Kansas, there was a company called Wildcat To Go. And they delivered pizza for us, and it went well. And I called the owner, this guy Scott, and I said, hey, our closest location to here is Topeka, Kansas. We have another store and a mall there. And I want you to deliver there. Like, you need to start your delivery. Because we got online and looked, and there was nobody. Nobody to deliver in Topeka, Kansas. And he goes, Tony, I'd love to, but I'm too busy. I'm just buried here in Manhattan. There's no way I could start another market. And so I called one of my business partners. I said, hey, why don't we just start this ourselves, really just to deliver pizza? Within about 3 weeks, it was more profitable than our restaurants. Within 2 years, we were in 300 cities doing millions of deliveries between the United States and Canada. So it grew really, really fast. I was like, what a great business. My goal was never to beat DoorDash or Uber. I didn't want to go head-to-head with, at that time, a $60 billion company and $40 billion company. I wanted to sell out to them, and we ended up doing that. We sold out to Eat Street, and then we sold out when we merged with Delivery.com. They made us a really good deal. And so that was the goal, but I never thought I could beat them. I knew when they came into our smaller markets, we actually defended market share really well, and we could handle them. But when we tried to go into markets they were already in, it was really tough. It was an uphill battle because they would spend we were spending a few $100s on Facebook ads to start a market because we'd go where they weren't. We'd go into cities like Wichita, Kansas, like Des Moines, Iowa. Like they weren't anywhere near there, so it's real cheap. We could get a ton of customers. We'd go into a city, they were a small town, and they'd be spending Salina, Kansas, when they came in, they'd be spending $50,000 a week, which would reach more people than existed in Salina, Kansas. There weren't that many people in the town. It's they're advertising to 100,000 people, and there's only 45,000 in the entire city. So it's going to be tough to beat those guys. So we could sell out to them. Blockchain changes that story. Blockchain gives you more like Netflix versus Blockbuster. See, there's ways to disrupt industries. One of the best is through technology. One of the easiest is through technology. Anyone here listen to music on their way here? Anyone here put a tape or CD in their car and listen to it?
Definitely.
There you go. 8-track. Technology changed things, right? It changed things a lot. Anyone here have an iPod?
Yeah, still.
All my music's right here. It's all right here. I go on the auto, it connects right to the car, and you listen to your music. Technology disrupted the heck out of that industry, right? Anyone go to rent videos anymore? Go buy Blockbuster? I think there's one that was left, then it closed down, and maybe it came back, I don't know, but it's why would you do that? Technology changed it. Blockchain creates efficiencies. And I'm not saying we're going to beat Uber, but we can cause a lot of problems for them. And this is a gentleman that really his vision's always been disruptive. Not just in business, but he'll probably disrupt the room as well. He was a mentor of mine. When I started in the network marketing industry, he came to my city in Wichita, Kansas, which it's very exciting. Wichita. No, it's like being punished if you have to go present in Wichita. But I was not in his organization. I actually like it there, but I was not in his organization, meaning when he came there and he helped me build a massive organization, which he did, he made nothing of it. He was just there to help and to help me grow as a business leader and to help my team grow. And I was like, that's somebody I'd like to work with, right? Because very seldomly do you find someone that has no vested interest in you take the time to hey, let me help you out. And that's what he did for me. And then we've been in business throughout the years. He helped our delivery company expand throughout pretty much Florida all the way up to Maryland. Then our marketing firm that generated over $1 billion in tax credit sales in 12 months. He's one of the founders of that company with me. And he's always looking at ways to disrupt industries. How did Netflix do what they did? How did the smartphones do what they did to the music industry? And how can I do that to the rideshare industry? And when I heard him talking and heard his vision, I said, blockchain is how we do it. And he agreed. So I want him to share with you a little bit of his vision on how we're going to be disrupting the rideshare industry utilizing blockchain. One of my good friends and one of my first mentors, Mr. Paul Michael.
So he's right, I do disrupt. I'm louder than him. It's funny when Tony was sitting there, I like jokes, and I've been doing public speaking, so if you get bored hearing the same thing, I get bored saying it. So I was sitting here tonight with Tony, and they were talking about how many of us have never, your parents taught you don't get in the car when you were young, right? My parents started putting me in cars the minute I was born. I'm adopted, so they put me in a car and sent me somewhere else day one. You can laugh, it's okay. I've been through therapy, it's good now. So, when Tony came to me, it's funny, we talked about getting on Tony's jet, and we went out to Utah, and Tony goes, hey, let's get on the jet, Mike Hall, I think, was going to be here. All the bald guys were going. And he goes, hey, we're going to go out and talk about, nodes. And I'm like, did you say nudes? Because I'm not getting any, what do you mean? I had no clue what they were talking about. I didn't understand blockchain. The only thing I understood about blockchain was right about that time, the Tom Brady roast that came out. How many of you have seen that? Yeah. whenever he goes, that one part where Nikki Glazer goes, what do you say?
Gronk.
Gronk goes, even Gronk though, that's not real money. Like, if you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch it. But I didn't understand it. All I knew with rideshare was that they were doing the marketing for me. I have a philosophy in business. It finally came to me how I think about it now. It's called outrun the bear. How many realize you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just got to be faster than Tony, right? It's the same thing in business, in my opinion. Like what happened in something, if you're the first person to go do it, you got to be the best, right? You got to figure out all the problems. Now what's happened over the last how many ever years is, how many have ever been in a car with a driver for Uber or Lyft and asked them how they like doing it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, unless you're trying to recruit them to do what we do, I wouldn't suggest it, because the next 20 minutes is going to be, oh my God, I hate this thing. I hate how much they take. Like, they started out really good. How many realize Uber and Lyft came in and disrupted taxis, right? And now a lot of those drivers are going, man, we miss the taxis. Because technology a lot of times comes in and does very, very well in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But then they start changing, and they start trying to figure out, they have to answer to shareholders, right? They have to do all these different things. And so about 8 months ago, I started looking at it, and Tony says that I'm a disruptor. When I get bored and I have too much money, bad things happen. So we are doing very, very well, and we got the company running to a certain point, and I was like, you know what, I got to do something. Like, it's just time for me to find something else. Entrepreneurs, if you have that sickness, you know, right? You're always looking for something new. You're always looking for something that you can conquer. And so I started looking at it. Oh, so I'm going to go ahead and do Darren's presentation.
We'll come back.
Here. I'll let you fix this. Help me, you messed me up in the first place. I love how he's going to take credit for fixing it.
I will fix it.
I'm just kidding. So what happened was I just started looking at it, and I started going, you know what? I put money into building the infrastructure, building the app. We've done it before. How many have ever built an app in here before? All right, those of you that have it, I strongly suggest you ever thinking about doing it. It's the worst thing on the face of the earth, because usually what happens is you start dealing with overseas developers. You got people that'll tell you they know what they're doing. They come back. You're talking to people that speak a whole different language, and I'm not just talking like being in India or something. I'm talking like technically. And I got lucky. I found a gentleman. He's actually in the room tonight. James, raise your hand. He's probably working right now. James is our developer, my CTO. And I sat down with him, and it was funny because when I first met with James, I said, listen, I'm going to give you some money, but I've already bought the software. If you come back to me and tell me the software sucks and you got to spend another $500,000, I will shoot you in the face. Because that's what they usually do. They go, oh, that stuff sucks, you got to do it again. And then within 60 days, he had a working app, and I said, whoa, how did you do that? I go, did you use that code? It was good enough, huh? And he goes, oh, I didn't use any of it. And I said, you redid it all? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, it was crap. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me? And he goes, because you said you would shoot me in the face. And I said, oh, that's a good point. But what James had the problem of is he's built amazing apps. He's worked for the government doing all kinds of security stuff. Can't secure our stuff sometimes, but I'm just kidding. He is an amazing person, but his problem he found was that he would build something amazing, and then on the flip side of it, the people he was working with couldn't get it out to the right people. It couldn't be seen. Does that make sense? How many of you have seen people have great ideas, but they don't know how to make it go right? Tony's one of those people. Darren's one of those people that can get it in front of the right people. They both built sales teams of hundreds of millions of people all over the world. And these are people that I aligned myself with. Kenny and Michelle own one of the biggest restaurants here in South Florida, along with Garrett. And we have a group of people that know how to go and do stuff. Like, there's a lot of people in here that probably don't have a clue what blockchain is tonight. But you're here because you heard somebody really smart and bald was going to talk to me. And so I started looking at things, and I started talking to drivers, and our REVO stands for revolution. And that's what I felt like the rideshare needed, because I talked to drivers over and over and over. And our revolution in rideshare is our motto is our clients pay less, our drivers make more, and every time someone does a ride, someone gets a reward. And what happened was this is the old one. I only get 2 slides now?
I think so.
That's all right. So I'll just tell you this story, because I'm changing some of this stuff. And I'll get out of the way and let Darren get up, because he probably has way more slides, because we like him better. He only lets us have 2 slides now. We can cut down. So the reason why I started it, and I could get into all the everything that goes along with it. But that right there is the truth. Our clients pay less, our drivers make more, and every time someone does a ride, someone gets a reward. And utilizing the network and the transparency, all those things that they talk about are amazing to me. But really what made it a passion is I wanted to do a business. I thought we could do something better than what Uber and Lyft and DoorDash were doing and these other companies. And we're actually in the process right now of adding in delivery in a very, very special way. Tony and I met with some pretty big wigs and some big companies in the last couple of weeks out in Vegas. But the reason why I really got after it and it became a passion was when we were on that same trip, I flew out with them, but I had to be back for a seminar here in West Palm Beach. I had to get up we were in Sundance up in the mountains in Utah. And we had to get up, I had to be up had to be picked up by a ride at 5:30 in the morning. It was snowy, it was rainy, it was up in the mountains. The poor driver had to hope that I didn't cancel the ride. Hope that I had to get up really early. Young lady picked me up. She was in, one of the high-end cars like the Suburban, so I knew it took a lot of gas. It was an hour drive. We got in the car, and she was, nervous. I could tell. She's driving down this mountain. It's really dark. You never know what's going to happen. And I said, let me ask you a question if you don't mind. How much are you going to get paid on this ride? And she pulled it up and showed me $95. And I said, well, don't wreck when I tell you this, but I paid $263 for this ride before the tip. How many think that's not fair that that's all she was getting out of it? She put the wear and tear on her car. She got up really early. She's doing this to take care of her family. And I felt at that moment that a lot of times technology companies come in with a good idea, but then they start having to answer to shareholders. They have to start answering to people. Then the technology becomes just the grinding part of it, and all they do is care about the numbers. That Tony said, technology doesn't mean something to me that it means to most people. I want to use technology to do good. I want to use technology to make it so our drivers make more money, so they can spend more time with the people. Our drivers have the ability to go out. James just instituted, we're testing it right now. Our drivers will be able to have their favorite customer. How many of you have ever gotten in a car with someone who's an amazing driver? But you never see them again, right? We have it set up to where those drivers, you'll be able to pick a favorite driver, and you'll be able to use them anytime you want. And that means that driver is going to go out of their way to do more, right? Mm-hmm. And we reward people. When someone does a tip, they're going to get more of our REV token rewards. Whenever that driver gets a 5-star rating, they're going to get more rewards. Our goal, Tony and I talked about it before, is within the first 12 to 18 months, is have a driver that makes $1 million. And I know you're going, he's going to have to drive really fast. But not from that. From them building these rewards and the tokens being able to increase in value, and because we build all kinds of things in it. So I'm not going to take much of your time. I'll turn it back over to Tony. But we've already opened up in over 40 cities. We're opening up more cities every day. This month, we are almost at 100% increase from what we did last month in rides. And I know it sounds like a big increase, and it may not be a ton of numbers, but it's growing every month. And we're increasing every month. Our drivers are putting stuff up. You will never see drivers put up their income in some of these other companies unless they're mad about it. Our drivers are screenshotting what they would have made with another company and putting up what they made with us. Some of our drivers, Arthur's in here tonight, some of the other groups of people that drove down from West Palm. And it's an amazing thing and an amazing feeling every day to wake up and know that you're helping people. And we're doing something really good. So I appreciate your time.
I'll give you more slides next time, Paul. I promise. But that's the other thing, I think with the blockchain, so many projects are idea phase, right? And unfortunately, a lot of them never get out of idea phase. And I think that's one of the best things about our projects is we're not in an idea. We're doing rides. Probably right now, there's a ride, whether it's in Nashville, whether it's in Florida, whether it's in Vegas. We're in 40 cities and growing. We're getting ready to go international. I know you got to go to Colombia tomorrow. So he might not come back, but he's going to be down there, and hopefully they'll do a lot of rides down there. He'll be living down there. He won't come back. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're one of the only blockchain projects on the planet that ties to revenue. And I'm not saying that's better, right or wrong. Bitcoin, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's bad, but I certainly don't buy it to use it. The only reason I buy it is I think it's undervalued. I think you're selling it to me for way less than it's really worth. Now, I might be wrong, but that's why I'm buying it from you. It's not like I can go to the restaurant and go, hey, let me get your Bitcoin wallet and I'll buy some food. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. But with a Grow token, I can buy food. With a REV token, I can take a ride. And our next project, soon, they're setting that up. Our link, actually, these are the two newest projects. The blockchains are just going live. The end of this month, actually, the Arlink blockchain should go live.
That's 2 days.
Yeah.
Thursday.
So Thursday, the blockchain will go live for Arlink. Don't quote us. You never know with tech. They got to run the testing. Barring any issues with the testing and the distribution, it'll go live. And so this is something that Darren brought to me. He was just saying, hey, check out this project. I think this is something that could go on the blockchain. And as I looked at it, I was like, you ain't kidding, buddy. And like, he's somebody that's built sales organizations of hundreds of thousands of people. And I'm sitting here going, man, like, if we can get a bunch of people using this software and using their tokens to pay for it, the value of that token is going to be pretty solid. And when you're dealing in the blockchain space, the upside is enormous. And I want this gentleman to share kind of his vision with you. He's a very good friend of mine. Again, we kind of met through, I guess, a mutual friend 15 years ago, and then God put us together in person. But it's been one of the best relationships in a business that I've ever had. He's one of the hardest workers, one of the biggest hearts. His goal really is to save babies. I mean, that's the main charity he works with, is to help adopt children that maybe would go through, moms maybe were looking at abortion, but instead they decide to do adoptions, and I think that's what he was really called to do. And if this project can help him save a bunch of babies, I wanted to be a part of it. So I want to introduce Mr. Darren Kidd.
All right, yeah, if it wasn't for Paul, some of you would think you were here for the Hair Club for Men annual event. And obviously, we wouldn't be very good spokespeople for that. The before picture maybe, but not the after. So I just tell my wife, it's not a bald head. It's a solar panel to a love machine. She laughs too, by the way. All right. With 5 kids, though, it could be something to that, you know. But that's what happens when you work from home and you live in the country. You can have a lot of kids. We told everybody our 4th kid was Nomo. We named her Nomo. Then we had 1 Mo, right? So, but they're a blessing. Can't imagine my life without them. And that's why I do what I do. So anyway, so after the shutdowns we all went through, video conferencing, has it continued to increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Are we ever going back to the way it was before? No, even companies, it's a hybrid model, right? And so when you look at the explosion in video conferencing, and the thing is, there's no loyalty. If you're going to get on a video conference tomorrow, we don't care what link they send us. We're going to click on that link and we're going to jump on the platform. But when you create loyalty, if you knew you were getting paid rewards to do that, would you ever jump on another link again? You're going to go, hey, why don't we use my link? When I went to get gas before I came to Florida, and I go, oops, almost used my debit card. I don't want to do that because then I don't get my American Airlines rewards. Right? When I went to get a smoothie, I make sure I get my rewards. When I was getting my coffee earlier, do you want to sign up for a rewards program? So if you look, everything is going to a reward type program. And so with the video conferencing platform, just a couple little slides, Zoom alone has 300 million users on a daily basis. A daily basis. Look at their market cap, 2.6 billion in 2021. And again, is it increasing or decreasing? It's increasing right now, but we're going to give them a run for their money, right? We need to update it. But all of a sudden, when you have a video conferencing platform that's on the blockchain, it's like our family in Virginia, they reached out to us and said, listen, we can't buy farmland all over the world, but if you will let us rent your land, we can put a tower. And they gave us a very nice 6-figure contract. And that's what they do all over the place. They have put a cell phone tower, and because it's having transactions, then we get rewarded for that. So when I learned the blockchain, wow, so you're using other people's computing power. So if you hack our bank, they have all of our information in one place. But if all of a sudden they go, wow, this computer has a number 1, and the other one has this over here. Is that your social? Is that your zip code? Is that your credit card number? So all of a sudden when you have it on the blockchain, It's safer, it's more secure, you're decentralized. Now, I don't own this project. How many of us wish we would have been a part of Uber in the beginning? Or Amazon? Or Zoom?
Yeah.
But that's too late. But when you look at these projects, one node is one vote. We're community owned. I don't own it. Tony doesn't own it. He owns a bunch of nodes, but we own the project. We vote. We make the decisions. And so what I love is we take ownership. Tony has built an organization by himself of over 1 million people in one company. Yes, I've built organizations of hundreds of thousands of people. There are people in here. Paul, where's Paul? He's got hundreds of thousands of people. He's a major influencer just on YouTube, right? So we got people in this room. This room alone can put millions of people on the R-Link platform. Yes or yes?
Yes.
So when you have a decentralized platform, when you start rewarding people for using it, so you're doing meetings and you're earning tokens, right? In the project, if it does extremely well, and again, when you look at the projects, I remember the first time I ever purchased crypto. It was only because Elon Musk tweeted it. Like, what is a Dogecoin? Right? I don't know, but I don't know. I'm going to buy some. And I remember going, I hope he tweets again. I hope he tweets. Come on, Elon, you can tweet again, right? I met somebody the other day who's like, if Shiba just goes to 1 penny a piece, I'm rich. Those we hope and pray. If you buy Apple stock, is there really anything you can do to move that needle? But when we have a project like R-Link, and you can take and not work a clicker, and you have a project like R-Link, and we know we can put millions of people, so you have real world revenue from day one, that's called a win. So we know we can do something to move the needle. And our thing right now is, we're not worried about how do we get millions of people on the platform. We're actually working to slow it down. True story. We're like, listen, we want to make sure we get the bugs out. And what's really cool, for those of you right now, the first 5,000 people, you have to purchase an NFT, which is basically a license. It includes your yearly subscription. There's some other benefits in that NFT purchase. But the next 48 hours or so, we're running tests right now. You should get your login information. So what's really awesome is that one of the people that's helping us with this project, she's built 7 seven-figure online businesses. She was in Forbes' top 20 social media experts. She's always ahead of the curve. She's been really focused on AI the last 2 years. She's like, Darren, this is the most exciting thing I've ever done. She goes, this is a marketer's dream. Because when you start seeing this platform, today tell me an R-Link or Rally, it's the Rally blockchain, and it's all branded. And then he's like, hey, check out this link. And he popped up a link that's clickable on the screen. And then he's like, oh, you want to hear about REVO? He popped up customized buttons that were clickable. At the end, we go, hey, thanks for showing up. We'll see you next time. When you hit end, you can choose where you direct them. You can redirect them to a website or whatever. So it's a lot of cool features that Zoom doesn't even have. And guess what? The day we launch, it will never be that bad again. Because we're going to continue to improve it every single day, because we want your suggestions. We're the community, and we're going to grow it together, and we own it. And just, by the way, the way that, do you want me to talk about the nodes, how that works, or are you going to finish it? Okay, so the way the projects work, just so you know, there's 100,000 nodes in each project. That's it. So the one that Tony missed, got to rub that in, because I missed 2 with him. He didn't get those nodes. He didn't call back and get the $10,000 in nodes, which would have generated, depending on when you sold the rewards, over $10 million. We were looking the other day, if you can find a node, because once they're sold out, it's what the market. We cap ours at $25,000, but it's what the market says it's worth. It was like $178,000 for a node in that project. There's 50 billion rewards in each project. Half are released the first 12 months. Then half the next year, then half the next year. So 25 billion, then 12.5 billion, and then 6 whatever billion. So the node, every 100 nodes that are sold, it goes up $100. So right now the REVO nodes are how much? 3,700, and so are the R-Link. My REVO nodes are getting, what is it like, 3,200 rewards a day? 3,200 rewards a day per node. So you can add that up per month, over 90,000 a month. What if The project that Tony missed went up to 87 cents a reward, and it was games. So I believe there's a lot more value in what we're going to do than that, even though, hey, that's fun if you want to trade cows and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But I believe when you're having video conferencing and you're rewarding people for doing meetings, and it's something they can use every single day, and you're getting rewarded for sharing it with other people, you reward what you want repeated. So if you want the nodes at the lowest price they will ever be, now's the time that you want to do that, right? And then if you want to get the most rewards that you're ever going to get, you want to be a part of the project as they launch. And both of these projects are in year one. R-Link, they told me yesterday, the blockchain will be launched as long as there's no glitches, but the test was successful on Thursday. They need about a week after that for all of you to get up your node account set up. And then distribution will start within the next week to 2 weeks after that. So you'll be a part before distribution ever starts. And then if you look at the Bitcoin halving, all the things that are going on right now in the world, I think it's a really good time to take a hard look. So with that said, I'll turn it back to Tony, let him finish up.
Guys, I mean, there's no doubt we've got pretty much the two fastest growing projects in the ecosystem, and I think it's such an easy pitch, right? Like, how many people have taken an Uber and not gotten anything for it, and we're going to start rewarding you? How many people have done a Zoom or a Google Meet and not gotten anything for it, and we're going to basically pay people to do meetings? It's an easy pitch. This is an industry that's completely agnostic. Like, nobody cares. Before I got into this project, like, I remember like in a month, I was on Zoom. That's what I used. My company used Google Meet. My other company uses Microsoft Teams because they're on the Microsoft network. Somebody sent me a GoToMeeting. You guys remember that one? Yeah. Somebody sent me a Join.me. I was like, are they still around? Yeah. And then another guy sent me one that was like a custom one that was kind of terrible. But I was like, whatever. I can see him. We can talk. Like, I didn't care. Whatever link you send me, I was clicking on, and that's the meeting we were on. The second we launched our beta, which was a few weeks ago, I started doing my R-Link. And I'd have people send me a link, hey, you can hop on my Zoom. And I would reply, hey, let's use my link instead. And every single time they were like, okay. And they'd like adjust the calendar and boom, put my link in it, and everybody was on it. And like almost everyone was like, wow, I like this. This looks good. And I'd show them some of the widgets, and they're like, well, I'm going to start using this. And I'm like, well, we'll pay you for it. We will reward you. And it's like, people understand that. See, that's the next phase with getting people involved in blockchain, is making it easy. The problem with blockchain is it's fairly complex. Anyone here have a MetaMask account? Anybody know how to bridge a token to ERC20 or BNB or any of that? All right, yeah, people like, that's dealing in blockchain these days. And God bless them, but the nerds have gotten it to where it's at, but I don't think they'll ever make it easy. That's what the entrepreneurs are for. Like, honestly, entrepreneurs are starting to come into this space going, how do I make this so my grandma can play ball, so she can get involved? And that's what we're doing. You can get involved in blockchain as a connector that's helping to build a community, or you can be a node owner. Either way. I always tell folks I do both. When you purchase anything in our chain, the blockchain's one big line. If you know how the blockchain works, it's a ledger that's immutable, can't be changed, never forgets, never sleeps. You need a little bit faster than dial-up internet to run a lot of these blockchains. It doesn't take much. If the internet went down for the next 5 years from some huge cyber attack, year number 6, when it turned back on, all the blockchains would be there with all the data just sitting there ready to go. And so if someone buys a node right now, and then a few hours later in China, someone buys a node, when you buy your node, it locks your spot in the blockchain, and if someone in China buys it a second later, they fall under you in the blockchain. And you can actually get rewards, additional rewards, for the team that's underneath you, even if you don't even know who they are. Don't even know where they are. It's just one long line that you lock into. And so I always tell folks, get locked in. Figure out what projects you're excited about and get involved with them. It's really simple because it's free to join. Whoever invited you to tonight's overview can send you a link where you can sign up for free. Once you sign up for free, you're in. Now you can start educating yourself. and you can start inviting people to join. If you want to get a node, you can get one Win Smart node. That's kind of the lower price node right now. It's $2,000, but there's a coupon that's still active. It was supposed to go off August 1st, so nobody's telling them that it's still active. I don't know how it happened. Yeah, Paul's going to tell them. But it gives you $1,500 off up to 5 Win nodes. So you can get each one for $500. I always tell folks, grab one. If you like the projects, if you want to roll the dice, it's $500. If that's all you're comfortable with, knock yourself out. If you said, hey, I'm looking to get a little bit more aggressive, then you can go to, there's a shop button and you can buy nodes. You can buy more than a Win node. You can get an REVO node. You can get an R-Link node. You can get a bunch of them. You know, they actually limit. The community caps at $100,000. And then the community, if you want to buy a lot more, which I did, the community has a decentralized board that basically votes. Because some people we wouldn't allow to buy more. But eventually, all these nodes are NFT. They're going to be available on the open market. And so even though it's one node, one vote, one of the first proposals on the REV blockchain is going to add 3 branches of governance. The node owners get a vote. The coin holders, if you're hodling a lot of coins, the more coins you hold, the more votes you get. And then the community gets a vote. The drivers, the riders, the people recruiting drivers, recruiting riders. And if each branch carries a 65% majority vote, the rules can change. If it doesn't, if one of the branch votes at 50-50, the rules don't change. The reason we're doing that is if we do start to punch Uber in the mouth, they have enough firepower when we start punching them. They do have enough firepower. If we've got a bunch of NFTs and you buy a REV node for $3,600 and 60 days from now, 90 days from now, 120 days from now, Uber offers you $360,000 for that node, I wouldn't blame you for selling it. But the problem for us is if the votes are all based on the nodes and all of our nodes are open source, meaning you can just, they're NFTs, you can sell them on the open market whenever you want. Uber could buy 65% of the nodes and literally vote to shut the app off. But if the drivers had to vote with them, they're screwed. Like, there's no way they could swing it. So we want to protect the community. That's really what blockchain's all about. That's what the Bitcoin network did. It's run by the miners. It's run by the hodlers. It's run by the people that have skin in the game. And we want to do the same thing. To activate your nodes, you can put them on a laptop. A lot of us use what's called Black Fabric. It's a third party, but it's one of the cheaper hosting services. They host software. And so a lot of people use them. We can help you get set up. Once you purchase a node and you get it running, you can log into your back office and check your rewards every single day. And right now, there's not a ton of liquidity. There's not a ton of value to those nodes, but we're just getting these communities started. We're just now starting to build. And I'm telling you, timing and positioning is everything in business. I'm not the smartest business person in the world. I work really hard, but I just pivot very quickly when I see opportunities move. Some of these guys have seen it, like rapid pivot. And I'm not saying I gave up on some of my other projects are extremely successful still to this day. We have thousands of employees. We've got offices all over the country. And like one of them has over $1 billion in receivables right now. So I want to make sure we collect that. But this is far greater an opportunity. Now, it doesn't mean the risk is low. The risk is high here. But I think we can control that level of risk by helping to build the community. Fair enough? That's a better play than almost anything in any space that I've ever seen. And I'll wrap up with this. I've taken companies public. In traditional markets, when you take a company public, you're trying to get about 5 or 10x on your EBIT. That's what you want to get. The blockchain, you're trying to get 100x to 1,000x. A lot of people can't fathom that. They just have a hard time understanding that. I was at Gary Cardone. I don't know if you guys know Grant Cardone at all. So Gary is his twin brother. And Gary was big on Bitcoin way before Grant was. Like, he was definitely into crypto. And I was at his house with Darren, and we were talking about the projects. He's like, yeah, I want to buy a bunch of nodes. And he was asking about how many nodes there are. I was like, 100,000. He goes, how much per node? I go, well, they start at 2,500. And we're at 3,700 now for the R-Link node. And he's doing the math. He's like, that's like a $250 million valuation right out of the gate. And like 60 days later, you're at $370 million valuation. He goes, as an investor, like as an entrepreneur, he goes, I'm having a hard time understanding that. I said, that's because your underlying asset is the US dollar. It almost always is, right? I mean, nobody thinks any differently. Like, I asked him a question. I said, think about if in 2011, you and your brother flipped a home. Let's say you flipped a house, bought it for 50 grand, sold it for 100 grand. Your brother bought the next door neighbor's house for 50 grand, sold it for 100 grand. I don't have to say 100,000 US dollars, right? It's just understood, it's implied. See, real estate's an asset, but it's only worth the dollar amount, fair enough? Like, we have to go, how much is it worth? It's always tied to the US dollar, and unfortunately, throughout our lifetimes, the US dollar has devalued, right? I'm old enough to remember gas at 50 cents a gallon. My mom and dad bought their house for $28,000 in 1974. Like, about less than 8 months worth of salary would buy a home in the suburbs. Now it's about 8 years worth of salary. The dollar ain't what it used to be. So I kind of retold the story to Gary. I said, now let's say something weird happened, though, when you sold those houses in 2011. Your brother sells it all cash to somebody like Darren Kidd, gets 100 grand cash, puts it in his pocket. He's a winner. Let's say I was the buyer for your home. And I said, hey, would you take Bitcoin?
Why do you
instead of I'm giving it away. I'm the one that makes a huge mistake here. So I say, can I buy your house with Bitcoin? And Gary's big on Bitcoin, so he would say, sure, what the heck? So I give him $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. In 2011, one Bitcoin was worth $1. So I transfer 100,000 BTC to our boy. And let's say he holds on to it for 2 years. 2013, the price of Bitcoin hits $1,000 per coin. Let's say, and it's liquid. Let's say he sells it that day. The day it hits 1,000. He's sitting with $100 million. $100 million, and his brother, who's brilliant, is sitting there with 100,000. It's not that he's smarter than his brother. It's not that he did anything different. They both bought a house for 50 grand and sold it for 100 grand. One of them chose the underlying asset to be the US dollar. The other chose an underlying asset to be a cryptocurrency that it didn't devalue. It massively increased in value. Now, I don't know if we'll see that kind of increase in Bitcoin anytime soon. I'm still long on it. I still buy it. But as far as percentage increase, I think its best days are behind it, which is okay. That kind of happens in every asset class. And eventually, Bitcoin will get price discovery with whatever the marketplace says it's about worth, and it'll actually become more of a transactional network where people will use it. I won't use it to buy stuff now because I think it's worth way more. Bitcoin Pizza Day, look it up. Guy sent 10,000 Bitcoin for pizza. It's kind of nuts, but it is what it is. So at the end of the day, what I tell people is this. Being smart, it helps. Being hardworking, that helps too. But being at the right place at the right time is way more important. Realizing you're there and then taking massive and immediate action. I tell you what, if you like what you've seen tonight, sign up for a free account and grab a node and then start learning. If you want to buy more nodes, learn about the nodes you want to buy and buy some more nodes and then start building the community. And you can get rewarded over and over and over again in an asset that's not the US dollar, which is risky because these assets might never be worth anything. But if we're right and these communities start to grow, you could have an asset that literally increases 100x, 500x, 1,000x. And it doesn't matter whether you're smart or not. If you're in that play, you're going to be a huge winner. Your great-grandkids will be huge winners if you do things the right way. So we appreciate you guys being here.
Sarah, can we get you to come on up, please? Come on
Sarah.
up.
Hey.
Hey, everybody, let me say this real quick. If it wasn't for Al and Sarah, this event would not be here.
There we go.
So let's give it Sarah. It takes a lot to put something like this together. We're very
So you know
appreciative.
that people want to win something,
We
right?
do.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
They
right.
always want to win something. You came here, your efforts were not unnoticed. So if you did not put a card in the jar, I'm gonna give you one more chance. If that's
Can I
okay
win?
with you guys.
I'll put my phone in there.
That's the digital currency. If you did not put a card in here, I will let you. But here's the best part, is that nobody here is against you putting a card in the jar, right? Because we're all here for the same purpose, right? Everyone who puts a card in this jar, it's for the same purpose that you're here to win.
Just give me a thumbs up.
Look, we're all in this together, right? We're all in this.
All right, here we go. We're going to draw. We're close it out. Ready? 1, 2, Tony, draw.
I hope my mom's card's in here.
The winner's going to get Tony's watch.
We got Chevy Tahoe, AKKE, Love, Transportation LLC. There we go.
Give him a round of applause.
There you go.
Congrats.
All right. You win. Yeah, you want an Amazon. No, don't put it back in. You can win again.
There's more prizes?
Absolutely. I don't know about you guys, but I like to thank you all for coming out and supporting. I'm really appreciative to everyone that with these projects and everything that we are presenting to you, and for your time and energy of being here. Like, this is a little free-for-all. You all get to win something too. Ready? Go for another one.
All right. Is this our last one? More coming.
All right, so how many do you pull out?
This one is for Tatiana Jimenez, Beach Congratulations. I don't think you've won yet. Food drinks. There you go.
Ready?
One more?
Ready? Yeah.
All right, we've got another winner here. Catherine Biscardi, Design. We met Catherine early. Congratulations on your win. There you go.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thanks so much, everybody.
All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate you.